Hey guys, it's Roy the Wolf Davila coming at you live. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is your favorite sales manager, Anthony Christmas, here at Costa Nissan in El Paso, Texas. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of what Roy does and how well he does it. The Wolfpack training that he has, it's exactly that. It's in the name. He teaches you how to be a wolf, staying hungry. And he just keeps you focused. A lot of times in this business, we tend to lose focus, lose the strive to be better, when you're already doing good. And, although our store does very well, we can still do better. And that's exactly what Roy does. Is he comes in here, he teaches us some new things, but not only new things, but makes us some of the things that we know, implement them and then keep implementing them. With Roy, comes in and he gets you thinking about the things that you once forgot and really pushing your salesman, pushing the needle further than you ever thought you could. He's been phenomenal. And I really recommend for those dealerships out there that are doing really well. Doesn't mean we're missing car deals. And we really, really are. And if you don't stay on top of it or keep training and really, really setting the standard, then you're always going to be mediocre. When this time changes, you're going to go back to a level that you don't want to be. Point of Roy is he's trying to keep us above the level, and grow within this time. And it's been fantastic. Nothing but good things here. Like Anthony said.
My grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. He said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.
Good times create bad habits. Don't let that happen to you. It's just accountability, discipline, staying true to our word, and making sure that over everything else, we stay hungry. Hey guys, this is Roy the Wolf Davila coming at you live right now. Actually, this will be pre-recorded, but I'm coming at you from beautiful El Paso, Texas, bringing Sales Tower Talk. We were a clubhouse room. Now we are officially a podcast, and I am excited to bring our guest to you today. Now, those of you guys that have got to know me over the years usually know if you see me out in public, you see me at NADA, you see me at Digital Dealer, this guy's usually pretty close around. We've gotten to become great friends, amazing colleague, even better person. I can't say enough good things about this guy. Let me introduce my special guest, Mr. Colby Joyner.
What's up, Roy?
Colby, what's going on, brother? Let them know a little about you and what you got going on. Since the last time they might have seen us together, I know some things have changed on both of our ends. So let them know what you got going on, the big moves you're making, and the amazing product that you guys are providing for dealers these days.
Absolutely. First, before I say anything about any of that, I'm just a little jealous that you have a slicker blazer on than I got. I got the traditional gray with the white shirt. You're black shirt, blue blazer. It's looking all good and stuff. So good on you for leveling it up in that way. But yeah, no, things have. Yeah, absolutely.
From snakeskin to snazzy colors. That's our thing, brother.
I know. But yeah, no, things have been crazy. I know that since the last time when we were at NADA, Digital Dealer, things have changed big time over the last roughly about 4 months. I know that prior to everything, you and I had the amazing opportunity to work with each other and to really kind of feed off each other's energy and minds. And that was awesome. Amazing. Probably one of the most enjoyable times of my career in retail was, being able to kind of be close to you and have those, fun before, during and after work talks, sharing Airbnbs in El Paso and hopping in the car and having some fun, driving to and from places. But
times in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. But I actually told that story earlier. So if anybody wants to know the story, I'm sure Roy would be happy to tell you in private about, the unfortunate Blazer incident. So the, uh, but yeah, no, things have changed a lot. Went from retail and now on into the vendor space, looking to try to help anybody in retail automotive in any way that I can. Currently, I am the VP of sales for Konect AI. So Konect AI is a lead management artificial intelligent tool. So what we do is really we sit on the outside of everything. I said something the other day in a meeting in a like a demo that we had. I said we're looking to be less software and more middleware, right? So we don't want to be that disruptor that's going in there to a store and saying, hey, you got to change your process to this. You got to start doing it this way. Stop this because it's not good. All this other stuff, and change the functional culture and process within inside of a store. What I want to do is be able to just be that added piece, that one little thing that adds on where you don't even know it's there. It's like putting that fuel additive into your gas tank to get those extra couple miles per gallon because gas is $5 a gallon right now. So I'm the fuel additive. That's what I am. That's what we are over at Konect, is that extra little oomph to be able to get that fuel efficiency. Oddly enough, that's really what we do. We create the efficiency inside the store, right? Not efficiency inside your current process, but efficiency with who you should reach out to, when you should reach out to them, why you should reach out to them, and then allowing tools like ours and other tools that you have in your store to help make you more proficient, efficient, effective in your current handling of the leads.
No,
Or
I love
let
that.
me let me rephrase. No, I'm really really trying hard, Roy, to get away from saying leads and going more towards opportunities.
I love
I'm
it.
really trying
Opportunities.
hard. But yes,
Well, and
increasing the ability to handle those opportunities, especially with the hard times that we have with hiring, staff in general. It's hiring staff, keeping staff, making them feel happy. It's completely different generations are coming into the automotive space, and the standards of what they kind of expect from an employer are different. The standards of the job that they expect are different. There's a lot of places that, since it's so hard and difficult to hire, there's a lot of places that used to be $10 an hour jobs that are now $15 to $20 an hour jobs. And so we're competing, let's say from a BDR level, with another place that may be potentially easier to work at, less mentally strenuous, and they're
yeah,
paying more.
yeah.
So my job and the job at Konect is to make their jobs better, make it easier for them. Not easier in terms of like, oh, this is an easy job, I don't have to do anything, but more satisfied with the job because they're constantly able to be on the phone with people that want to talk. It's
I
our
think
job to make sure that they engage
there
and
you go. And
then
I was going to
get
say the
comfortable.
word you're looking for there really is engaged, right? And I think dealers that are intimidated by that phrase AI or by that term AI, they need to realize, and what I'm trying to preach to dealers these days is that we can use it to supplement our BDC crews. I don't think Colby's going out there and saying, "Hey guys, do away with your or BDC departments, do away with your BDRs and just implement Konect AI." But I think it's a healthy way for you to run a little more efficiently. I was having a conversation with a BDC director today, and it's funny. We can we need the human element, but the human element is also something that can hinder you, right? And I mean this in the
Mhm.
sense that here's a BDC department that's handling, it's a centralized BDC department. It's handling so many leads, and usually you're not running at 100% capacity as far as how many BDRs you have on staff. You're usually overworking a handful of BDR agents because it's difficult to hire them. So what happens in the event that somebody has a death in the family, somebody's sick, they get COVID, something happens, and now all of a sudden performance drops because we're overworking and overloading certain reps, right? So I think with the engagement of something like Konect AI, now the heavy lifting is done by the AI, and your BD rep is now interacting with engaged leads, with people that are having their hand up saying, "Hey, I need help with this, I'm ready for that," or even, and correct me if I'm wrong, setting the appointment for them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, no,
I think
absolutely.
that leads to a happier BDR. Then you can run with the staff that you currently have and be a lot more efficient, and the speed at which you're getting to your consumer doesn't it's not taking a back seat, right? You're maximizing and you're running efficiently. That fuel additive you talked about. Tell me your
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
So there's two points that I wanted to make based off of what you're saying, right? The first point is that when you're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, a lot of people get scared, especially within retail automotive. And I've said it on every single podcast I've had, and I will. It's a hill, unfortunately, I'm going to die on if somebody decides to attack me. But technology in automotive space is a little antiquated. It's behind the times. I mean, unfortunately, I was speaking with somebody in the RV world, and they're even further. They're 5 years behind us, which we are 5 years behind a lot of other people. So we're not the only ones. We're not the worst in last place in anything, but technology is so far behind. So when dealerships and dealer principals and general managers and internet managers and everybody that starts when they're starting to learn about what AI does, and they're starting to investigate products to bring into their store, and AI becomes this hot buzzword, right? What they've been getting, unfortunately, is more of a response bot, or do you have this? Yes. Do you have this? No. Can you do this? Yes. Can you do this? No. It's very simple. And there hasn't been a way to kind of tame that beast. It's so simplistic that it doesn't think,
It
and
feels inhuman.
it doesn't have reasoning, and it feels inhuman. And so that's what they've been exposed to. So then once that exposure comes out, it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of bad. Like it's not blending with my process, even though I could probably have a better process. It still kind of makes things worse, right? Because now people are getting frustrated. The customers are getting frustrated because, oh, you told me this. Well, it was our AI, or people are
The
getting
vehicle's
frustrated
not
in the store.
available. Something happened with yeah.
Exactly. So really, what we're trying to do right now is to change that mindset on what artificial intelligence is. And I think I said it on the KPI podcast with Dane Seville, where there is an aspect of AI. Really, AI should be automated. It's automation, right? And a process can be automated, right? So automate the process with the AI. Leave the humans to the relationship building, right? So all the small little things that happen in a dealership in the process. Lead comes in, phone call, text, email, video, all these various things. Now you're going to have a BDR and then a salesperson call. And now you have two people attached to the lead, and then the manager has to call, right? And that's just day one in an internet process. And that's not everybody's internet process, just a fictional one, right? So then that happens. Well, the majority of that stuff can be automated. Number one, the best way to reach out to somebody in general is a text message. Now, it's unfortunate that, you have the TCPA compliance you got to adhere to, and now there's going to be some reduction in the total volume of text messages being sent with the A2P 10 DLC regulations and all the new rules in place for that in terms of a trust score on how trustworthy is that number. And, is it something that the phone provider should be sending out? So it's kind of over-regulated, I think, at this point. But because everybody jumped in on texting almost immediately, as soon as they saw the responses, they're like, "Yep, we're doing it. We're sending 100,000 text messages today to everybody that we know." But texting is the best way to get a hold of somebody. So phone call, email, video, they're all good. Videos get great responses, but it's still kind of a one-sided conversation.
Yeah.
Phone calls are great when the customer answers, but most customers, even though they submit an inquiry, they don't want to be called. They don't want to be talked to. They just want an answer given, which is why they don't call the store as much as they used to. Inquiries are gone up, right? They're going to submit the information for their response versus calling the store to ask a salesperson. And emails are emails, right?
Yeah.
They should just die. But so that's kind of part one, right? Part one, the AI really should take care of the automation of the simplistic task within the process, right? To make it to where now the salesperson who, instead of going from left brain to right brain, in terms of a task-based process. I got to do X, Y, and Z to, theoretical, relationship, emotional, all this other stuff. They're not having to switch their mindset and their mentality. They can truly just focus on making sure they give a good experience, making sure that they're knowledgeable, make sure that the communication is high level and in the proper way for that customer, and learning some of those psychological skills that like Dawson teaches, right? So that's the first part. Is I really think that AI is going in that way. That's where we're pushing our AI to take care of a lot of this automation and scheduling phone calls, saying, hey, customers ready to get on a phone call right now. Customers get ready to get on a phone call today at 5:30 because we already got the appointment. Or they're coming in on Friday. Guess what? Here you go. Here's the appointment, right? We'll go ahead and get all that set up and sent over to you, and makes it easy. The second part of the question, what was the last thing you said? Because there was a number two that I had. You said something, and the last tail end of what you said triggered my second point.
The engaged leads that your people are now responding to, and they're not. Now you have somebody with their hand up saying, "Hey, either I have a question, this is what I'm looking for," or they're, like you said, setting the appointment for them already. I'll let you try to catch back up on that. I do have a question for you though, that I think is relevant in most dealers' minds when they think about AI. And you touched on it briefly, but I want the dealers, I want the people to hear it from you about how sophisticated this software and technology can be and is growing. We're not talking about cookie cutter phrases that are just keying off keywords, right? We're not talking about, hey, the customer said I'm interested, so it automatically prompts, here's a cookie cutter response to ask for an appointment. How intelligent is this artificial intelligence? What is it like? Is it growing? Is it learning? And what's it really picking up on? Because I think the concern with dealers is, I don't want cookie cutter responses being sent to my customers. I do want them to have that. Am I talking to a human? Do I not notice this is an AI? I want them to have that kind of interpersonal experience. Talk about that, because I know me and you kind of went in depth about that the other night. And for those of you guys that don't know, any given night, me and this guy are on the phone for a couple hours, talking shop, talking life, talking music. It doesn't matter. We're always picking each other's brains. But explain, because you really impressed me with this the other night, and explain to the people how intelligent this is, and where it's going, because I think that's huge. I think that'll put a lot of people at ease.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of AI right now, in various different levels of industry, where the conversation is built out, and each question in the conversation, or each little path of the conversation, is really a one or two. They're either going to choose option one or option two. But the difference of it is, and on ours, we use sentiment and intent analysis, so we can understand the sentiment of what the customer is saying. We understand the intent of their question, so it doesn't have to fit a specific phrase, right? It doesn't have to say yes, I'm free when we ask if you're available for a phone call. It could be like, yep, sure, sounds good. Any variations of that, and it picks up on that language and understands, based off the language, what the intent is from that customer. The intent is typically a yes or a no or an undisclosed, right? Yes, I'm free. No, I'm not free. Or they say something that's completely off base of the original question, which then we have responses on that, right? So, and then, the sentiment is being able to understand whether they're mad, upset, or neutral, right? They're either happy with your questions, they're either upset with your questions or your statement, or they're just neutral. It's just a typical response. That really allows us to lead the conversation where we should go, right? We're not going to just not pay attention to the customer's sentiment, whether they're happy or sad. We are, because if they start to get frustrated, then we're going to stop, redirect, and either be able to answer the question in a different way, give them a different answer, or actually just refer them over, saying, hey, look, I guess I don't know that exact answer, but let me get somebody who can. Are you free for a phone call from my manager in 5 minutes? Right. And so then it's kind of taking a time out. It's like, okay, time out, throw some ice on it. Let's chill out a little bit. But hey, I will get you somebody to answer that. Are you free in 5 minutes? And typically they're like, yes, I'm free in 5 minutes. Great. And then we go ahead and connect them with the dealers at that point. But yeah, so, and on top of that, every time that we get data and information coming in, it all runs through like a machine learning. right? So we're constantly using each time that we have a conversation, we're using that conversation to build out and expand the capabilities of the AI.
Yeah, and I
So
think that's the
that's
big
where,
thing. It's evolving.
yeah, 100% it's evolving. And that's the fun part about it. It's like a tree, right? You know, if you can associate conversations to a flow, right? You start with the one box and then you go to different boxes, and each box has branches off of it. So if you associate the AI to like a tree, you know, some people have a tree that's the fake plant that sits in the corner and it looks good, but it's not going to grow,
There's no
right? And
substance.
it's hollow, right? But the difference of it is ours is an actual tree. It started as a seedling like 8 years ago by our founder when he started developing some of this stuff and started building and building and building and getting more people to help him build. And so it's been growing and growing. So each time that we have more conversations, each additional direction that a conversation goes that we may have not seen before, it's going to build onto that, and another little leaf is going to grow and another little branch is going to grow. Eventually the tree is going to get so massive that you'll be able to have any type of conversation with it and it'll be able to respond to that. The difference though, and I think this is really important for everybody to understand, we do not answer questions if there's not 100% certainty of the answer. Meaning, take your inventory management system, right? You have great ones out there like VinQ. You have Viato. You have all different kinds. But show me an inventory management system that is 100% accurate with what's on the lot, right? Where whatever's a trade or whatever's going to wholesale is off and this is on, and everything's accurate. It has all the photo. Nobody has it. And look, I'm not trying to blame anybody, but nobody has it. There's at least going to be one vehicle missing or one vehicle that's been held up there because they got, unbooked in the DMS and now it's got repopulated on it, right? So because of that fact, we're not going to tell somebody the vehicle's available. We're not going to say, if they say, hey, is this vehicle available or is it there? We're not going to say, yes, it's there. How soon can you come in? Because we're very particular about maintaining the dealership's reputation with their customers, right? We don't want to be the bad friend that said something wrong. We want to be the good friend that is the wingman and helps them out, right? So
I don't know if you guys heard what he said, but those are bullets, baby. Keep going, brother. Keep going.
That's funny. But yeah, so we want to make sure that whatever communication that the customer is requesting, whatever answers the customer question, we'll answer as best as we can. But unless we have 100% certainty of that answer, we're not going to answer. Same thing was if they ask it, hey, can I get financed, or hey, can I do this, or can I do this, right? So let's say a dealer has, they're a subprime dealer, right? And they are willing and able, as per them, able to take 500 or higher FICO or credit scores, right? As long as you have $1,200 in income, been on the job 90 days, we'll finance you. If we know that information, sure, we can build it out to where we'll answer. We'll ask the question, hey, do you have this, this, and this? Sure. Yes, we can get you financed based off of the dealership. And we're staying consistent with their messaging. We're not saying something outside of their messaging. But unless we know that for certain, we're not going to answer it. So that's where the majority of our conversation, the whole goal of us is to not have super lengthy conversations. We're not going to sit there and write a book back and forth to the customer. What we're going to do is we're going to engage in a proper way where we sound human, and we're not trying to deceive anybody, but we sound human. We get the wall starting to come down from that customer that's inquired. We get them comfortable with that back and forth messaging. Once they're comfortable with the back and forth messaging, then we'll say, hey, sounds like we should probably get on the phone. Are you free? If they say, no, I'm not free. Great. When's the next time that you'll be free? They'll say, hey, tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Well, I have a 4:15 or a 5:45 available. Which time works best for a phone call? Let the customer choose the time. We're taking them down that path. So they choose the time, and then we push everything over to the CRM, full transcript with the link to everything, perfectly viewable and to be able to see it.
Here's a clean handoff.
And now the BDC rep that is assigned to it is also assigned in Konekt So they are assigned to that lead. So they know tomorrow at 5:45 p.m., this customer wants a phone call. Most people will just kind of leave it there. Hey, I pushed the information. It's kind of up to your store now to take care of it. The difference of it on our side, what we've kind of built into it is that at that point, 10 minutes prior to the phone call, both the customer and the rep are going to get a text message saying, hey, you got a phone call in 10 minutes with this customer or with this store, right? At the time of the phone call, we will also send a message to the rep and say, customer is ready to talk. Are you free? What? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no.
Oh, wow.
Right? If they are free, they press 1, their phone rings, they answer the phone, calls out to the customer, boom, you hit the customer right at 5:45 when you told them that you would, right? Because you don't want to lie to the customer. You don't want to disappoint them. You want to overpromise. You want to underpromise and overdeliver. Let me rephrase that. Underpromise and overdeliver. So that's the whole goal of allowing us to help you underpromise and overdeliver, right? But on top of that, if they say no, I'm not free. Let's say a customer walked on the lot and they went and took the customer because the manager said, hey, you got to go take this customer, regardless of your phone appointment, which I know it happens. At that point, since they said no, we're going to notify everybody else that has an account in Konekt. There's a customer that needs a phone call right now. So that way we're not wasting time going from rep to rep to rep to rep to rep, getting no's. And now at that point, it may be 6 o'clock before we get somebody on the phone with the customer, right? So what we do is we give, it's kind of like that right of first refusal.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to give the person that is assigned to the lead the right to the appointment, the phone appointment, right? But if they are not available, we're going to give it to somebody else immediately. And not that we're trying to snake the deal or anything like that, but it's all about the customer. It's all about making sure that they're getting the phone call at the time that we said that we would, based off the appointment that we set for them.
Well, and the point of your software in what I've seen it, and for those of you guys that say, okay, Colby, you're talking great, I love it. Ideally, it all sounds amazing, but where's the case study? Who best practice? Who's doing it? Who's succeeding with it? I've seen this firsthand, and I'm going to shout out somebody that we're both very familiar with, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Barbosa and the Henson team over there. You're talking about a dealer that gets over 10,000 organic leads a month. You can't hire a BDC staff big enough to handle all that incoming traffic, right? What they use and what they've used for a while to communicate with these leads is Konekt AI. And it's that software that I've seen be successful on giveaway customers, on customers that are interested in financing, on special finance customers, people engaging with your website. It doesn't matter. They all have one thing in common. And it's what Colby talked about earlier. They're all texting right now. That is the prime medium of getting in contact with somebody. They will engage through text message. And this allows, and what it allowed for us when we were developing those departments there was to interact with engaged customers. I'm talking, I don't get pushback or flack from my reps that I'm giving leads to because they're not quote unquote cold leads. These are people that have already engaged and are moving along in the process, and they need us to pick up the baton and take that transfer and move over. And never did I get a complaint that it doesn't feel realistic. I feel like I'm talking to an alien or a robot. It was very, very, very successful. And to admit, your backend tool as well, it's very easy to navigate and very easy to use. And I love it. So if you're looking and you're saying, hey, where's the proof? The proof's in the pudding. Look at Henson Brand. Look at the success they have. That's an amazing organization with an amazing leader in Eric. That was an amazing story they did in what was it, Digital Dealer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they mentioned Eric. Eric is amazing. He's a great partner in terms of utilizing the product, and graciously, without being asked, kind of did a little name drop of Konekt in the Digital Dealer magazine that came out. I think today is the July-August issue. So that with another great company called EverDrive, which is Brian Singh is running that, and that's going to be really big. But yes, so Henson is a great example of being able to use Konekt on that platform.
Yeah,
There
and
was
it wasn't unwarranted. That came from when me and Eric first met, and he told me the amount of leads they were getting in. I said, "There's no way that we can handle all this traffic. How do you do it?" And when he showed me how Konekt worked it, I was like, "Man!" And I meant Konekt AI, and I said worked it. How Konekt worked it was impressive, and man, shout out to Eric. If he'd have met me 2 or 3 years ago, probably around the same time I met you, man, I think world domination could have happened at that point. But no, impressive dealer group making strides and using the software to help them do so. Be very efficient. And I think in today's market, and there's a question I want to get to here in a little bit, but I'm going to let you continue. In today's market, and let me know if you agree, it's convenience. How quickly can I get to this customer? Because information's at their fingertips and they're going to get it from somebody. If they interact with your store and you're waiting on your BD rep to get back to that customer and somebody's out sick, somebody had to go pick up their kid and somebody called into work today, and you've got one person sitting back there handling 3 or 4 stores and there's hundreds of leads coming in, what are the chances that you're going to engage with that customer? You have one opportunity to get in front of them and to help them out. And if they clicked your VDP, if they're on your website, if they submitted the lead, guess what? You made the cut, right? We always say, how many dealerships do customers visit these days? 1.2. Don't turn them into the 0.2. Right?
Did
Don't
you steal
become
that from did you steal that from a blog I wrote in 2017? Because I think that literally I wrote a blog called 1.2 and I said, make sure that
don't turn them into. It's because we spend so much time together. It just, osmosis.
Yeah. Osmosis. I'm making sure that I'm writing down the points that I want to make because the conversation's flowing in a great way. And I'm like, oh, I need to say this. And then we go, I unfortunately end up going down a random tangent on one of the aspects of it.
And this is a conversation that we have. This is normally how. This is one of the reasons I love having you on here, because it's like we're on the phone, right?
Oh,
This is no different than us being if you were in the Airbnb with me today. These are
yeah,
the same conversations we would
the only
have.
difference is the Coronas or the Modelos that are not being drank at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So, oh yeah, okay. I remember my my next statement. So one of the things I wanted to say, because you mentioned the backend tool, right? What Konekt has as its portal, right? Its dashboard. And I almost hate saying dashboard, right? Because everybody has a dashboard. Everybody has, everybody has the tool that it's like, oh, go log into our tool and go, go check it out and see how it's working. And the difference of it is with Konekt, what we have envisioned is a dashboard that doesn't require anybody to ever log into it. There is a dashboard. Don't get me wrong. You can go back there and you can look at your lead counts. You can look at your positive engagement, your negative engagements, your, the non-engagements. If there's an opt-out, you can look at all that data. That's fine. You can go in there and view the conversations as they're happening with the AI in the dashboard. 100%. That's fine. You can actually go in and stop the bot and engage in that conversation yourself if you choose to. That's fine. However, the whole goal is to not have it be another piece of technology that you have to have a login for and that you have to have a window up, right? I use a MacBook and I have Chrome up and I have my all my windows up. I'm telling you, I get hit with the, you need more RAM more often than not. I don't want to cause the computers at the dealerships to blow up because they're adding that final piece of, that final browser window. Yeah, exactly. So I don't want that to be the case, right? So I'm protecting your computers. Number one, I'm protecting your computers from blowing up. But it's a portal or it's a dashboard that is not a requirement to log in, right? Everything that you need to know from that customer will be in your CRM in terms of the lead type, where the source, what they're looking for, the comments from the lead, everything will be in your CRM as it normally would be. We're not messing with that. Once we have the conversation and one of 4 things happens, we either get them on an immediate phone call, a scheduled phone call of the future, a appointment set up, or what we call a fallback, meaning that they said something that we didn't understand and undisclosed. We don't know the intent. And we refer over to a phone call. And if they don't want a phone call right now, if they're not okay with scheduling that appointment, we'll just refer the lead over back to the store for them to do their traditional follow-up on. They've engaged, so we can tell this dealership, hey, you have an engaged customer, but it's time for a human being to get involved, and we hand that over, right? So you're going to get all the information on what's going on with the lead. So there's really never a reason to log in. So that's what I mean by like being middleware versus software. We're not trying to be a piece of software that, it sits on your computer and you see it and you watch it and you monitor it. And it's another thing that you got to, take brain space up with. We're outside of that. We don't want to be a disruptor. And sometimes the best disruptors are silent, right? That's the biggest piece, is that we don't want to be disrupting your process. We don't want to be disrupting anything else. Just let us do the job and hand it over to you in the right way. Regardless, you have all your leads. You can call them and follow up and do everything that you normally do. We're just doing that little extra piece to create that lift in there. What we're showing right now is on average about a 30% productivity and efficiency step up with BDRs and salespeople on these lead handles in terms of increased appointments, increased phone calls, increased, conversational connections. That's huge for us. So it's not something that you need to log in to. You will have a login, but you do not need to log into. Secondly, with that, we actually are about 15 days roughly away from a new report, right? I know everybody unlike me, I love reports. If anybody knows anything about me over the last couple of years, I had to very fortunately and also unfortunately, have a report done every single day, a very long, very, very vast report that was being done for the stores at the group that I was at. So I love reporting. I love data. I love being able to look at that and make adjustments according to that. But we have a report that we're being built as kind of this additional value piece for Konekt, right? In talking about that, one of the biggest points that we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide dealers, or biggest values, was being able to audit and understand the engagement and the value of these individual sources based off of the conversation. Well, unless you have something like an AI, it's not going to be standardized, right? You have human interaction, you have human bias. They may like or dislike that lead source. They may like or dislike the name. They may like or dislike the vehicle that they're looking for, the question that the customer has. But on our AI side, we are very specific about our conversation. So it's consistent across the board. So in order to make sure that you can have a good test of an A and a B, you have to be consistent across the board so that you can create, have an isolated value of each. And so with us, we're able to go in there and give the engagement percentages, the appointment percentages, the conversion percentages, all of these various data points per lead source so that the dealership can make an educated decision on whether or not to spend more money with that source or to remove that source without having any bias in it. So that's one of the big value adds in Konekt is that reporting, to be able to understand that. Number two on the report is you're able to go in and look at the timing of customer responses. So then with that, you'll see like a heat map, a weekly heat map of saying, hey, on Mondays from 8 to 8:45, it's pretty busy. You have a lot of responses, but the next time is at 3:00. And then it's, a color gradient for each one. And so by looking at that and getting that consistency on that, you can start to learn how to staff your departments better to make sure that when customers are engaging, you have your people there instead of just thinking that the customers are going to engage at the beginning of the morning, during lunch, or after they get off work, right? It's just if you've ever been on the desk, sales tower talk, right? If you've ever been on the desk, you're going to, without any kind of knowledge or information, you're going to probably tell your staff, hey, it's 5:00. The people are getting off work. Go call them. Now you probably are right, but where's the data to support your statement?
Theory.
Yeah. So at least on our side, we're able to provide that and say, hey, this is when customers are engaging back to us via text. They're engaging during these times. So in order to make sure that you have your sales or BDC department staffed appropriately, look at these times and say, hey, I need this team here. I need this team here. Maybe I can hire a part-time person to fill these other spots here. It makes it a little bit easier. But the report's going to be huge. And at the same time, you don't have to log in to see the report. The report will be sent out to the people of choice, that the managers or whoever you want to have see that report will be sent out on a weekly basis for you to be able to review everything that you want to review.
Wow.
But with those two items, right, the no dashboard, like we have a dashboard, but there's no real reason to look into it. We have a report that's relatively vast, but it's very important about the information, right? We're giving that valuable information over to you. The biggest thing about anything that I'm saying right here is the consistency in the messaging that we're sending out. AI, the benefit of the AI, number one, we have the intelligence to be able to understand the conversation, the sentiment, the intent, and everything going back and forth. But from a dealership's point of view, we can maintain that consistent dealership message. What are your value adds? What are you about? We are able to maintain that consistent dealer messaging, right?
Guys. If you don't know this, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and me and Colby have had countless conversations. I'm sorry to cut you off, and I'll let you finish here, but what he just said right there, I mean, applause, gunshots, all of it. And for you dealers that aren't paying attention to that and don't think that's important, you are and I see it all over the place, and it's a big pet peeve. You're advertising experience, greatest experience. We're talking about convenience. We're going to take care of you. It's limited time, in and out, less than an hour. Sound like a pizza place sometimes, right? But the tech that you're using, the experience you're giving your customers, it does not echo what you're saying. You're talking a big game, but when customers shop with you, when they submit leads, and when they actually show up in the dealership, the amount of dealers that are actually cashing in on that experience, it's shockingly low. Yet we're out there, and you got to understand, guys, this is not the age and the era of the best price, 10 grand off, quickest to the bottom. None of that anymore. In the era that we live in right now, with market pricing being the way that it is and availability being the way that it is, experience is what we're selling. Experience is what needs to be important. And if you think it's just the way that you meet and greet your customer, you're wrong. It all starts with that first interaction they have. So, Colby, I'm glad you brought that up. That's so important, guys. Make sure that tools like Konekt are mirroring, and you're hearing it from the vice president of sales himself. It's important that the experience that your customer has mirrors what your message is and what you're trying to do as a dealer. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just,
you're good. It's 100%. It's 100% right. Right. We look, the two things, and Roy, I think you and I spoke about this more than a handful of times. The two things that we have been seeing at the last several conferences was a whole portion of people that in the past were talking just DR, digital retailing, right? And the other group of people were talking about nothing but customer experience. Well, in order to maintain the consistent messaging of everything, unfortunately, some of the DR providers aren't consistent with what the dealer has been doing or is currently doing. And so the dealer will get that DR provider, place them in the store because, hey, you need to have some form of digital retailing. Even if it's not fully selling a car online, at least be able to allow the customer to walk through the process and kind of become more comfortable with buying that car or getting more information on the car. But if you're allowing that on your website and saying, hey, we're going to have DR where you can find the car, you can pick it, you can figure out what your payments are and do all this other stuff. But then you call the store and the store's like, well, I can't give you payments over the phone. Or I can't give you that price over the phone. You have to come in. It's not consistent. And so the customer's out. Like, okay, look, I'm out. I'm going to go shop somewhere else. So like on our end, the biggest thing is the consistent dealer messaging. Like it's about, like I said, I don't want to be the bad friend that says something wrong. Right. And unfortunately, we have some amazing salespeople, but also some very fresh and very green salespeople that are entering the industry. You can grab 10 random salespeople from 10 various dealerships across the country, put them all in one room, ask them the same question. And there's probably going to be at least 8, if not 10 different answers to that question.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that's happening on your sales floor because of unfortunate lack of training in some aspects. Whether the managers are training or not, but even if the managers are training, you're getting trained by multiple different managers who all have different various training methodologies. So the messaging is not going to stay consistent. And then you end up just getting a car guy, which is not a bad thing to be a car guy, but you have to be a professional car guy. You got to be on your toes. You got to be very highly focused on the customer experience, very highly focused on a lot of that stuff. You
You
don't want
got
to
to
just
be a
be the,
certified solutionary car
I don't
guy,
know. Yeah,
not just a regular car guy.
exactly. Yeah, you got to, that's why Lou is the car guy, right?
Yep.
And so, but the consistency of that message is so important, because from a dealership's perspective, now think about it this way: the dealership is spending marketing dollars on AdWords, like search, display, social. They're spending money on that. I'm pretty sure that they're very highly in tuned with what is the messaging going out to my customers.
Yeah.
Does it say this? Does it say that? I don't want it to say this because that's not what we do. And I don't want to do, they're very specific about this because they're throwing a lot of money into it, right? How much money are you paying your salespeople? How much money are you paying your salespeople to be on the floor and to handle your customers every day without, and I'm going to get some flack on this, but without a babysitter, right? So they're without a babysitter. They don't have somebody standing over their shoulder watching and listening to every single thing that they're saying. So is your, the dollars to cents kind of equation, does it make sense to have the consistent messaging on your website, the consistent messaging in all your advertising and all your attractions for customers, but they come in and now they don't get consistent messaging when they're face to face with somebody, or communication in any methodology to the dealership? It doesn't make sense to me. So you have to maintain consistent messaging all the way around, 360 degrees of everything that you're doing. The best way to do that is automation, right? That's the best way. It's the way that you know that you're not going to fail on the communication and the consistency of that communication. Like I said, we're not answering the difficult questions of saying whether the vehicle's there or not, but that's pretty much an easy question, right? It's an easy question once it's handed off to somebody at the store, because all they have to do, if they're trained appropriately, is go out and say, you know what, give me a couple minutes. Actually, can you stay on the phone? Or do you have an iPhone? I'll go ahead and FaceTime you if you want me to. Let me go out to the vehicle. I'll grab the vehicle, put it up, selfie it, say, hey, Roy, if this is Colby over here at ABC Motors. As you see right behind me, I have a 2018 Cadillac Escalade that you inquired about. This is the black one. This is the one that you wanted with that lighter color interior. As you can see, I'm putting my hand on it right here. It's right here with me. It is available as of right now, right? But that does not mean that a customer's not on his way. So let me ask you a question. How soon are you able to come in? Are you thinking later this afternoon or tomorrow morning work best?
Boom.
Right. That's where the salesmanship comes in. And that's where the relationship building comes in. They see the smile, they see the video, they see all this other stuff. But before that, you don't want to get the whole conversation and the whole relationship that the dealership has with the customer thrown off base by that initial communication when they actually speak to a human.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the biggest aspects about Konekt that I see as a huge value add, is
clean
the
handoff.
consistency. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up what you brought up, because one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about, and you know me, man, I've been a DR nut for the past few years, since before we even worked together.
I knew once I said it, you got all happy.
And once again, you got flack. I'll probably get flack for this one. People keep writing off Carvana. They keep writing off these disruptors of the industry. Whether Carvana's successful or not, dealers, if you did not pay attention to the message and what our consumers clearly told us, then you're going to continue to lose the game, right? Whether they're there or not, I think the person that's playing this game the best is going to be the one that understands. You're going to have customers that want to do things completely digitally, right? Or remote. You're going to have customers that want to do a mix of remote and in person. And then you're going to have customers that just want to show up to the dealership and do a traditional purchase. You need to make sure that you can meet those customers where they want to be met, and use tools like Konekt, use tools like digital retail tools that are going to help you progress the car deal. Because I think, in my opinion, that's all you're looking for. I want to keep that customer engaged, and I want to move them along to the next step, and then figure out what funnel I need to put this customer in. Are we remote? Are we a mix of both? Or are we coming into our brick and mortar, right? We talked about it in our clubhouse room. It was brick and mortar and click and mortar. They marry each other. And I wanted to know, as somebody that's so passionate about DR, if you couldn't tell, I've been wanting to work for Buy Now forever. I've been knocking at Tim Cox's door saying, hey, man, I know a guy that can help you with this. Shout out to Tim. I'm about to have him on as well here pretty soon. But Tell me about that dealer, me, when I was on the retail side that's so committed to DR. What does Konekt do for me, and how do I utilize it to help my DR process and my team?
The initial part of their communication is in a digital format, right? They are initiating the conversation, even though it's not a one-to-one conversation. They're initiating that conversation in a digital format online. They're looking at a vehicle, they're looking at payments, they're looking at terms, options, a various multitude of different items. And usually they're doing that because they're afraid to, not saying afraid, kind of unconsciously um, fearing having to deal with the salesperson, having to deal with a dealership itself. So when they're embracing that communication with you in that direction, the way that we fit in and the way that our platform fits in is really having that smooth handoff from departing or leaving the DR form or leaving that input of information to making sure that we get them connected to the appropriate person in the store in a very smooth and clean way. One of the things about it is we don't name our AI. Our AI does not have a name. It doesn't say this is Colby at ABC Motors, right? It says this is ABC Motors. The reason that we do it that way is because, number one, we don't want to create something that's not there. So if we name it some random name that there's not a person in the store that has that name, we don't want the customer to bail on that conversation and eventually come in asking for that rep who doesn't exist. And therefore, you're losing some of that transparency. So the way that we continue the transparency is by not naming it. And therefore, the first person in terms of a human being that interacts with the customer is the first name that they know. They know as soon as we hand it off and you say, hey, I'm Roy, one of the managers, that's the first name that they hear, Roy at ABC Motors, right? It's not, Melissa at this place.
Yeah.
Because Melissa doesn't exist. So that's where I'd see us in terms of the DR is that smooth handoff. It's so convoluted right now with a lot of processes where lead comes in, they get an auto response, maybe even they have an AI built into their CRM. So the CRM engages with a name. Hey, this is so-and-so, right? Then you have the BDC rep or BDR that reaches out via phone call saying, hey, this is so-and-so. Then you have a salesperson later in the day calling and saying, hey, this is so-and-so. And then if your dealership is actually, better than 50% of the other ones, your manager or your internet manager is going to call or engage in some way, whether phone call, text, or email with this is so-and-so. So you could theoretically have 4 to 5 different names being dropped to this customer, most likely none of them answering the proper question.
Yep.
Because they're just accomplishing a task. And so there's so many hands in the basket to one customer. We want to make sure that that customer gets that smooth transition going from click and mortar to brick and mortar, the smooth transition. So once they are smooth into that transition, and now we isolate that this is a person that's assigned to that lead in the CRM, we're going to hand that phone call that the customer wants to have right now to that person. So then they talk to them. Now they get a connection. If typically in a sales process, if there's a connection, like if the BDR connects, the BDR is going to be the main point of contact unless they need to level it up with an additional person for questions. And usually that indicates a warm handoff.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go ahead and connect you with your sales rep. His name's Roy. He'll be able to answer the question about how many airbags are in that car, right? And there's warm handoffs at that point. We don't want to have this mass input of people to try to respond to this one customer. It's like walking into a mosh pit. We don't want them to do that. We want them to walk into a church. Right.
Amen.
And so, amen.
Preach.
Yeah. Right. And so that's really where I see that we fit in. And we have dealers that have DR and that have, a lot of these various tools, and we're handling all of the leads, all of those that are coming around. I wanted to jump back, and I'm not trying to change the conversation, but I wanted to jump back when you were talking about, people that have been using us, and, we're we're finalizing this case study right now, but it's really surrounding KBB, right? It's surrounding KBB and the acquisition tools that are out there to be able to help dealers acquire more inventory, which we all know is very huge right now. I mean, Honda said they're going to reduce their production by 30% in the fall. And I remember when you and I were at the Honda store, it was already low, and now they're saying they're going to reduce it, right? So I'm not going to say that there's no end in sight because I'm not doing as much research on that as I potentially used to. But it's not easier, and it's not going to get any crazily easier in the future. It's still going to be kind of this tough road.
And even if it does, don't you want your acquisition? Here's the thing: if things go back, and they never will, but if they go back to the way they were pre-pandemic, wouldn't you still want to have this strong acquisition team and program and process?
Because it's so much more cost efficient for the dealer to purchase the vehicle from the consumer from the consumer than it is to buy from the auction. Plus, typically the consumer can get a little bit more money for their trade, which puts them in a better equity position on that vehicle, which means that they can come back and trade in earlier, which means that you can hold on to the loyalty of that customer. So, but yes, all of that is right in terms of what you're saying. But what we're looking at in terms of our acquisition bot, I guess you would call it, our AI that we utilize for acquisition is, what is it? I think nationally, KBB on average with all the leads that dealerships are getting for like an ICO, they're closing at about 2%, right? And when I say closing, I mean they're able to actually purchase around 2% of the vehicles that are coming in. We have a case study right now specifically about buying cars using KBB and seeing that go from a 2% to on average an 8% conversion on that, with some stores getting up to 14% conversion on that, based off of just making sure that we are consistently, proactively, quickly engaging that customer that is wanting and willing to sell their vehicle to us with the appropriate data and information and getting them connected. So that's a huge part of what we do. And that's what I mean by the lift, right? So imagine it this way. If I'm somebody that's wanting to just see the value of my car, I want to sell it, right? I want to sell it, but I want to kind of see who's going to give me the best value.
Yeah.
Most places, like if you go to a third-party site, so you go to KBB, or let's say you want to sell it to Carvana or Vroom, or you go to, one of the more local places, like in San Antonio, there was a Car Zeus, right? So you had a lot of these places that would give you a value. Hey, here's your value on your car. There's not a secondary person there to say, this is who gave you the value, but I think it may be worth a little bit more, right? Not that it is, but it may be. And it really depends on the quality and the condition of that vehicle. And, how good are you at walking around your own vehicle and selling it to me, right? So our messaging is very much surrounding that. It is very much, hey, Roy, I see that you're looking to sell your vehicle to this place, to this dealership, ABC Motors. KBB says it's worth this, X. However, KBB says it's worth this, and it's a great piece for our inventory. However, I think it may be worth a little bit more. What is the best way to chat? Is it text or a phone call? That is the most simple message. But what it does is it
prompts engagement.
Prompts engagement, right? And it's not that we're prompting positive engagement. We're just wanting the customer to respond. But the second thing is one of the downfalls, I think, to some dealerships is that they pigeonhole themselves into relying on the branding and relying on the notoriety of that partner that they have, instead of creating their own branding and notoriety, right?
Yeah.
So I love KBB in terms of an acquisition lead source. I think it's a great way to get leads in. Unfortunately, whenever you sign up to be a KBB ICO, there's a huge influx of leads to that dealership. The dealership's already overwhelmed with leads, right?
Correct.
So now you're having, BDRs or salespeople, or maybe even acquisition specialists that are now calling on this huge influx of leads, and their conversion is not very good. So their confidence in the source goes down, right? Which means they're going to start giving less and less effort. And then they're going to start not wanting to attempt to overcome any of the objections that the customer has. They're going to be like, yeah, that's what KBB said. That's the most that we can do. Sorry. And hang up. right? It's not going to be that brash, but that's where it kind of gets to.
Yeah.
But if we can make sure that that negative doesn't bleed into that initial conversation with the customer, and we can be positive about it, giving them a little bit of hope, even though it may not even, their vehicle may not even be worth what KBB says it's worth. But based off of the fact and figures of that vehicle and the condition of that vehicle, it may have 50,000 miles, but it may be pristine.
Yeah.
Right? It may be pristine. It may be something that that somebody wants, that you can sell for a good market price, or you compare that, you use Car Offer and take a look and say, hey, what is this vehicle worth on Car Offer? Is it about the same as KBB? So if I can just give them KBB or maybe a little bit more, I'm still safe if I need to sell it within the next 48 hours, right? So there's a lot of ways to attack that. But the whole thing is that minute separation between the source and the dealer, right? Is us saying, hey, KBB says it's worth this, because we're relying on KBB as the source, as the
validation, or
the validation of that figure, right? Because a customer went to KBB and said, I trust KBB enough to give me a value. So we're leveraging that, saying KBB says it's worth this, which the customer probably most likely is, kind of meh about. It's probably not exactly what they think. But then relaying the information saying, we think it may be worth a little bit more. We're not saying it is. We're not giving them any kind of guarantee or written offer that's above that. But what we're saying is, before you just run away because you don't like that offer, give us an opportunity to earn that, earn the ability to buy that vehicle from you. Because I don't know if you're trading a car yet. I don't know if you're just selling it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what your wants and needs are. I don't know you as a human being. I don't know. We haven't had a conversation. Let's have a conversation. And the only way to do that is to be able to have that minute separation and create that brand and recognition and notoriety of your dealership separate from your sources, but still leverage the sources as a form of, validation. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing that lift in those conversions, those purchases with KBB, with the group that we're looking at, is because of the way that conversation is going. You're getting that instant communication out. You're making sure that you're asking them. They're always going to ask for the phone call. They're always going to ask for the phone call as a schedule if they're not available right now. And they're always going to ask to bring the vehicle in.
Yeah.
You cannot say that your salespeople 100% of the time are always going to ask for the appointment.
No.
It's the reason why companies like Car Wars exist. It's the reason why companies like Interactive Tel exist when it comes to their reporting and their notifications. Hey, here's a missed opportunity alert in your email because the dealership employee did not ask for an appointment. Well, guess what? You're not going to get an email from us saying, sorry, our intelligent AI that has sentiment analysis and is intent analysis and goes through a whole machine learning and knows all this other stuff, just forgot to ask for the appointment. It's not going to happen. We're not going to send that because it's not going to forget to ask for the appointment. It's always going to be geared to push that customer to the appointment in a very calm, cool, collected way to make the customer feel comfortable, get comfortable with the communication back and forth, bring that wall down. By the time you get the lead, the customer's like, okay, I'm ready to talk. And then it's so much easier of a conversation from the get-go.
Yeah. And I had to stop myself while you were going there from tagging Danny Z and getting him involved in this conversation, because I've seen VinQ's buying center.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the layout. I've used it. I'm a big fan and huge supporter, but I can only imagine how powerful it would be if you paired it with Konect AI. You
It
want to
would
talk
be
about a game changer? You guys would that's world domination. All my dealers out there.
I'm kind of disappointed, and I'm disappointed, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm in Houston, so I live in San Antonio, right? So 3 hours away from Houston. You know me, I worked in Austin forever, right? I worked with Austin at Capitol forever. Austin's less than an hour away for me to get up there and do whatever. I'm in Houston this week. I have a lot of big meetings, a lot of great meetings with great people, great dealerships, great vendors, a lot of things going on. We're making some huge progress on a lot of stuff. But the TIADA is going on this week, the Texas Independent Auto Dealers Association meeting, and Danny is there. And he posted that he, him and Glenn Lundy were sitting there giving each other a hug. And I'm like, son of a gun. I'm an hour away. Traditionally, I'm an hour away, but now I'm 3 hours away, sitting in my office. And I think I'm the only person in the office building right now at 9:49 p.m. Having a conversation with the wolf.
I love it. And Danny, I know what he said. We still love you. You're one of our favorites. You always hook us up with the great VinQ swag. You got an amazing program. You want to talk about
Absolutely.
another company that I'd in a heartbeat go help out? Those guys are amazing. But I can't help but think integrating VinQ, Konekt AI, how they can help each other, the synergy that'll happen with that kind of marriage there. So if you're a VinQ dealer and you have a buying center and you want to maximize the efficiency of your buying center, you need to give my guy Colby a call here and get set up and make sure you tell him the wolf sent you. All right. Colby,
Hmm.
we're coming into overtime, and I got no problem with it because you're one of my favorites, man. You're a brother to me. Uh, I got a question for you. I've been giving you softballs all night, and I got a tough one. All right, and I really want you to think about this one. And being a dealer partner, because we're not vendors, we're
Mm-hmm.
dealer partners, we're allies, right? Being a dealer partner, I got a shout out to Tony Lucas for this one because when I was talking with the CASA organization originally about putting our partnership together and the performance coaching, uh, Tony Lucas asked me a question. And I said, you know what? When I start the podcast, any dealer partner I have on, I'm going to ask the exact same thing. What would stop Konekt AI from being successful in somebody's store? What would hinder Konekt AI's ability to do what it needs to do? And why would somebody not be okay or not have success with Konekt AI? I'm going to turn that one over to you.
Well, I'm not, I learned a long time ago, and I most recently started kind of enacting this. Um, the the um, the premise of you shouldn't mince words, right? The biggest reason that I think something like Connect would not work in the store, I think, comes down to um, ignorance and pride. Because automotive, there's a ton of alpha males in automotive, alpha females, people that are in there, and they are the brightest star in the room. And most of them, if not all of them, are amazing people. Um, but a lot of us, myself included, in the past, is we tend to fight against the progressiveness of the industry and where it should be going, and being open-minded to a better way. And I'm not saying that Konekt AI is the only and best way, but you have to be open-minded to making adjustments and changes and not settling for the same numbers that you've gotten month after month, year after year. There has to be that massive growth, right? So with anybody that's going to partner with us, if for whatever reason you're not successful, number one, we would probably know about that relatively quickly, because we monitor and have conversations with our stores and our dealers, and we talk to them and we make sure that everything's on the up and up and everything's good. But if you're not successful, it's probably because you're actively trying to not be successful with it, because
That's strong.
because it's not so embedded in your process and in your store that it hinders you from doing other things, where you can have that as an excuse, where you can sit there and say, it doesn't work because now instead of us doing this, you're doing this, and we don't like the way you're doing it. You don't even know what we're doing half the time. And that's the point. And I don't mean that as in like, I don't want you to. That's why we have the dashboard. If you want to, if you're that investigative person and you need to know and you need to see, by all means, we
It's
are
there.
transparent and an open door. Ask away, look away. We're all good. But if you're going to say that this is hindering you from being more productive, then most likely the process that you have in the store is dramatically and drastically broken. Because if something like this that is external, that is not stepping on your salespeople's toes and doing nothing but in trying to attempt engagement, it's either a problem with the process in the store, it's a problem with the culture of the store, or it's a problem with the reputation of the store.
I love that. When we go back and chop this thing up, that's a sound bite right there alone, brother. I love that. Now, I don't know if you guys heard him. That was a lot to digest, but it's the truth. It's the same, a similar response I had when I was asked the same thing, right? And it's not the inability of the product. It's not the there's no value to what we provide. It's the reception that's had of it. It's the ability, and this is one of the reasons I'm sure you feel the same way. I feel this way. And when entering a relationship with the dealer, we have a right and we should protect the integrity of our product and our services and make sure that we're setting up with a dealer that's prepared to support what they're investing in, right? And make the difficult decisions when they have to make those difficult decisions and say, hey, we're going all in, we're investing in this product, we're investing in this service, and we're going to back it up. There is no wiggle room. There is no, sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. It's a non negotiable. We're investing in it and we're going to support it. And I know I've known you, like I said, brothers here. I know you have those conversations with your
Mhm.
dealers going in. I know I do the same thing. It's a look, I value my services, I value my product, I value what this can do for you, but in order for it to be successful, you need to buy in
Mhm.
110%. Because the only thing that's going to stop this from being successful is your team's unwillingness to embrace it.
Mhm.
Any kind of ego, pride, and everything that you said, that is the only thing that'll get in the way. And
We all suffer from it. And so it's
yeah,
like, look, I'm not throwing stones.
no,
I
no,
mean, that's the thing is like, I'm not throwing stones. I've suffered from it. You've suffered from it. Everybody that we know in automotive has suffered from it based off of their, quick rise in leadership, based off of their, their popularity, based off of, any aspect, hey, I sold 25 cars last month, so I'm a badass. And so
I know
now
what I'm doing.
everything I do is right. And we all know that that's not the case. Some of the best car guys, some of the best dealers, some of the best managers are the ones that are consistently learning and are completely open to having that conversation and debate and to try new things.
Love it.
So that's the biggest thing. Don't let your pride, your arrogance, and your inability to adapt hinder you from allowing other people to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Embrace it. Embrace it. And I promise you, guys like Colby, myself, the people, the dealer partners that are going to be on this podcast, because keep in mind, Sales Tower Talk was made intentionally when I was on the retail side, and Colby knows this. My intention with this is to highlight dealers that are successful, best practices, give hope, give tips, give coaching, give something back to the industry that's given back so much to us, but also to highlight some dealer partners that are doing amazing things out there that I believe and I can put the wolf stamp of approval on and say, hey, this is a difference maker and this is something that can benefit your store and you need to pay attention to and at least hear the guy out, right? You've got to embrace these products. You got to give it an opportunity to do what it can do for you because I think you're going to be amazed with what I think Konect AI is one of those things. And I'm not saying set it and forget it, but it's not something that takes a lot of maintenance. It's not something that requires a lot of attention. Like you said, it's rolling in the background. You don't even know it's there, and it's helping you handle your leads so much faster. You're engaging with customers. Your BDR reps are going to be your BDRs are going to be so happy. They're going to make more money. If you're handing some of these leads off to your sales pros, it's not a cold lead. This is somebody that's engaged. I can go on and on and on and on and on and on with reasons
It's
why
like
you should.
it's like buying a Roomba to sweep for you so that you can do something else.
Exactly.
That's what I
Exactly.
mean,
I love it.
there's so many different analogies that I can put in there. It's anything and everything. There's so many in any way of life, in any aspect of life, there's constant development and technology development to try to make time, your time management better, your life more productive, all this other stuff. When Roomba came out, everybody's like, "Oh, that's kind of quirky and cool," and like people bought it. But then eventually it took on, and now there's 18 million different companies that sell some kind of robot vacuum.
Yeah.
I mean, there's robot lawnmowers now, right? I would never do that because I'm so particular about my yard. If you know me on social, I've posted my yard a couple times because I'm kind of proud of it. It's my hobby. But there's products and services out there from a technology perspective that are replacing, now I'm going to be very cautious of how I said this, replacing your need to do that job, but not removing it completely. And I say that by me being careful about that statement is because Konekt AI is not geared to replace anybody at the store. Period. Right? We're not here to replace anybody. We're not taking up because our conversation is not thorough enough and long enough based off of our willingness or unwillingness to give additional information. We're not replacing anybody. We're like that very nice, calm receptionist that will answer every single thing that happens. Right?
Yeah.
Well, every single phone call comes in, they answer it right away with the proper answer and in a very smooth and engaging way. Get the customer to come in or to hand it off to the right salesperson after they have a little bit of information. Right? So we're not replacing anybody. What we're doing is enhancing everybody.
Yeah.
It's like we went from not being able to see to putting contacts in and having 20/20.
Where's that at? That's for my guy right there. That's for my guy right there.
I'm glad the kindergartner class like that, bring your dad to work day speech.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you something, man. It's been a pleasure having Colby on here. We traditionally wanted to keep this thing at about an hour long. We ran a little into overtime, but I could have told you that was going to happen. When me and this guy start talking, there's no way you can stop us. Those of you guys that are tuning in, do me a favor, reach out to Colby. Let him show you what the product can do. Colby, how can the people reach you, man? If somebody's listening to us right now and they're like, you know what? I need to give this a try. I'm interested. What can Konekt do for me? How do they connect with you?
Oh, that was very, very, very cute. No pun intended. So the easiest way, like it is for most people, find me on social. I'm Colby Joyner. Very easy. Colby like the cheese. Easy to remember, right? Colby Joyner. I'm a mid-30s bald dude with a beard. Find me on social media and send me a DM. Like send me a message on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, on every platform. But find me on there and send me a message or engage on one of my posts. Right? I post about Konekt. Go like Konekt on Facebook or on Instagram or on LinkedIn. We post stuff there all the time. So engage on a post or send me a message or add me as a friend. I'm not going to bite. Just ask me a question. Look. It doesn't, I'm not going to say that this fits every single store and that every single store should have it, right? Because it really depends, like on what I talked about earlier. It depends on the store. But I'm more than willing to have a conversation with anybody about whether it works or whether it can work or how we can potentially help you without any crazy sales push. I'm not going to try to shove it down your throat and say, hey, you have to have this, right? We're going to have a conversation. Ironically, in the majority of my demos, I'm not a big fan of pitch decks, right? Because I think I've been on so many pitch decks or so many demos that first thing that happens, they toss a pitch deck up and it's a 25-minute running through. This is where we started and this is where we came from. And this is the different iterations of the product. And these are all the various things that we do. And it's boring, right? Most of my demos are, hey, we're going to sit here just like Roy and I are sitting here talking. We're going to converse. I'm going to get to know you and what your problems are in the store. And if there is a way that I can potentially help you, and then it's really up to you whether that solution is the right solution for you. So just reach out. Colby Joyner, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever works.
Hit him up, guys. You heard it here. Sales Tower Talk. Colby, I want to thank you so much for jumping on here, brother. It means the world to me. I know it's an unspoken. I know I had your support from day one, but it means the world to have you on here. Blessing Sales Tower Talk. I'm going to tell the world, I'm going to put it in the universe. You take it, run with it. I don't care. We got to do our thing. Automotive 101's got to come out sooner or later. All right. We can't let Kyle and Paul have all the fun. All right. There's Fred, Lou, Colin, Paul. There needs to be Colby and Roy. I'm just saying it. People watching, if you agree when we launch this thing, throw it in the comments, blow the man up, tell him, hey, where's Automotive 101? When we get this thing going? Because as much as I love doing this, I can only imagine the fun me and you would have with all the other guests that we can put on here and the support that we'll have. For those of you guys that are tuning in, Thank you so much. This has been Sales Tower Talk with Roy the Wolf Davila and Mr. Colby Joyner. Colby's got Konekt AI going on. If you want to get to your leads quicker, if you want to give your customers an amazing experience, if you want to be more efficient and add that fuel additive in there, give my man a call and he'll get you hooked up, right? If you're looking for a way to take your sales team to the next level and get your managers moving and off their lazy butts, you need to reach out to me, Wolfpack Mastermind, dealership performance coach, hashtag no lazy leaders, hashtag stay hungry. All right. That's the Roy the Wolf Davila, Colby Joyner coming at you. Sales Tower Talk. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Reach out to my guy. Let's get it. Stay hungry.